Hey skiers, I'm Jeff from SkiEssentials.com.
And I'm Bob. How's it going?
Bob and I are here to kind of continue the mid-80 category for our ski comparisons. We're calling this one mid-80 frontside skis. Perhaps a more accurate way to describe it would be mid-80 system skis.
With one exception.
One exception. I still think putting frontside is a reasonable tag for this. But, you know, it's far from a clean split or a clean break from the last video. Kind of thinking back to the ski that we ended on last video, which I believe was the MX-84?
Mantra 84.
Was it Mantra 84?
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, you could use the MX-84 as an example, too. Those two skis out-carve a lot of things up here, and from a traditional frontside perspective, that's what most people think of.
Yeah, and I think like systems also bring into it more value, more of an intermediate level connotation, and we do see some of that on your side of the wall there.
Yeah.
And then again move into more advanced expert, more race influence towards my side here. So I think there's, you know, we wrote down prices again, so highlighting value, highlighting the fact that some of these skis have really good constructions for being more intermediate oriented.
Yep.
And we really don't want to paint intermediate skiing or skiers in a bad light. They deserve to have nice stuff too.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And there are some like interesting differences among this group. And you talk about things like this a lot, but this is another good example of like some of these are the widest versions of, or the widest skis in their collection from that brand, where some are like the narrowest.
Right.
You know, like the Redsters up here, looking at Atomic's Redster collection, these are the widest of a collection that goes all the way into Michaela Schifrin's race skis.
Right.
Where like Stance is kind of the opposite example. And then there's also, or Maverick is kind of the opposite example, because that goes up to 115.
Right.
So that would be the extreme example. And then some of them are like kind of their own thing, like these Stormbirds.
Yep.
Like there's not really, the Stormbird collection from Blizzard is new, and it's also pretty small and kind of just its own thing.
Yeah.
So I think it's like, the conversation will follow just like natural progressions of kind of like what these skis are in general.
Yeah, I think that's a fair way to do it.
Yeah. So starting off over here with this Atomic Maverick 84, pretty interesting ski because it doesn't follow the same recipe as the wider Maverick skis, and I often feel like things like this might get a little bit confusing if you were shopping for skis and, you know, you looked at Maverick 88 and Maverick 96 and you didn't have like the existing knowledge. You could easily go straight to Maverick 84 and kind of assume it's a similar thing, but it's really intended to be quite different. The graphics do follow the same theme for the wider Mavericks for 2026, but the rest is kind of its own, I don't know, its own ingredients here.
Yeah.
So sort of more of like a rental adjacent ski. It is the Maverick 84R, which I think like mostly gives reference to this tip protector.
Yeah, I think so.
And
I think
like
that might be it.
That's the R.
Yeah.
Aside from that, it's just a normal ski. But they build it quite differently. So it's basically a hybrid core that's a mixture of wood and densolite material, so like basically a foam core ski. And then they do bolster it with what they call TI reinforcement. Not many details out there on how long that Titanal reinforcement is or where it's placed, but one can assume it's underfoot.
Yeah, but you could also say that follows suit with the rest of the Mavericks, where they haven't been totally specific with the CTI laminates.
That's true. Yeah, you don't always need like the nitty-gritty details.
No.
So, you know, really the best thing about this ski is its price. It's $499.95, and it comes with this binding. it's a decent binding, 9 or 10 din range binding. Comes on a pretty straightforward track. We will start to see some fairly substantial increases in binding integration, or rather like improvements in binding integration as we get down there. Things like this don't provide the most precision and the most torsional stiffness, but it'll absolutely work. And really, this ski is intended for a pretty new skier. You know, I do think you could put a true beginner on this ski. I think probably the sweet spot is somebody who has at least a little bit of skiing experience and wants to step up just a notch in the ski's capabilities. I think just like in general, it's cool that skis in this category, a $500 ski that comes with bindings, have pretty modern progressive shaping.
Yeah.
And you know, you can see it mostly in this tip shape, a nice amount of early taper to go along with some tip rocker. My hand is getting better, but it's not great yet, so I'm gonna let Bob show shape in more details. But just over 3,000 grams here on the scale. We will look at weight. All of those will be considerably higher than usual because we're looking at binding weight as well.
Yeah, but it's a fair comparison. If they all have bindings, then yeah, it's pretty similar, and you get that overall feel.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
And one of the things that we promised and whiffed on for this one, Jeff, is the bent 85.
Yeah, why don't you put the wall together? So it's your fault?
It's my fault. So basically, the bent 85 is this with a twin tip.
With a twin tip?
Yeah. So
they're basically like the exact. It's very similar.
Same construction, same footprint, just a twin tip. So apologies for not including that bent 85R in this as well. But yeah, like you were saying, you know, pretty standard stuff. Great option for someone who's buying their first set. I mean, we do a lot with skis like this in both packages and systems, and really targeted at that kind of first-time ski buyer. But you do get a good amount of energy. You know, certainly has that Maverick influence where it's got a little bit more shape than we see with some of these more race or on-piste oriented skis, and a little bit of taper there as well. So we'll see everything from a little bit of taper to zero taper, especially in the tails. But yeah, certainly a value-oriented ski, and a good one to start on, as it's really accessible for a lot of different people that are emerging and progressing in the sport.
Yeah, and you know, new skiers are generally pretty hard on their equipment, whether your tips are crossing a lot, or you know, you're just not used to taking care of a pair of skis, so you're kind of throwing them around, and maybe they're getting knocked over in ski racks or something.
Yeah.
About as durable as you can get here with this cap construction and a nice textured top sheet, and then this tip protector.
Yeah, and to be fair, all of those things you listed happen to me still too. So it's one of those things you never really grow out of. But yeah, good one to start with.
I guess you do just throw your skis in the back of your pickup truck.
Yeah. Next up here, Salomon Stance 80. Grab this one here. Another great choice for someone who is looking for their first set of all mountain skis, and they want that value built in with that integrated binding system. We've talked about these Salomon Stance 80s for a while now, as well as that Stance 84 there, as really having a good mix of attributes and a higher end feel for what they're kind of intended to be. They use a lot of technology and sophistication in the construction and the shaping to kind of get you to the next level without being crazy price-wise. $579.95, so a little bit of a bump, but I still think it's a great value. They do use a poplar wood core. They get their Titanal and carbon laminates in here as well, so you do get upgraded materials with this. And they're super quick, 3,008 grams, so lighter than what you saw there with Maverick by just a little bit.
Yeah, just a hair, but pretty similar.
Yeah, similar shaping. Overall shape and style.
Yeah.
You know, maybe a little bit more rocker here in the Stance 80, just to give it a little bit more versatility. Yeah, just slightly more tip rocker, a little bit more of that spoony tip shape that we see in both this and the 84. You know, this is very simply a pared down version of that 84. And then some decent tail rocker in the back. you know, where this ski really excels is in, you know, quick turns, shorter turns, whether it's groomed or slightly off-piste in moguls and whatnot. You know, I think that there has been really good discussions over the years of the narrower stance skis being fantastic bump skis, whether you're learning or are a proficient mogul skier, having the quickness of the waist and, you know, just kind of an easier flex in this ski, but also very supportive, makes it just super easy to progress and learn while still having kind of a higher performance level. So yeah, great ski. You know, it's any of these at the front here aren't going to be incredibly stable at speed, even with some metal in there. It's not like you're going to be using this at your local ski bum race. You know, you definitely have to get closer to the middle to really up that carving and that on-piste kind of more aggressive potential. So this one and a lot of these other ones here at the start are more moderate in their style and scope.
Yeah, and like, if I was to give somebody a cheat sheet of this comparison, just look at the tip shape.
Yeah.
The tip shape can really tell you a lot right off the bat. You know, like right here behind me, like, can you put those back together for me? Because so I can lift them with my good hand. Thanks. It's tough with all these bindings and stuff.
I know, this is a heavier set.
Obviously, I'm kind of in the way, but if you were to look at the tip shapes over here, you know, the first two skis have a lot of taper. This is getting a little bit more extended and wider. This would be very extended and wider, and then kind of same with this Blizzard. And basically, like, the more taper that you're seeing, the better that they're going to be in bumps, in soft snow, in variable different turn styles, where the others are a little bit more geared towards true on-piste performance. And I think, you know, I think it's, oh boy, that was close. I think it's a good progression into this one, this Nordica Steadfast 80, because it's not quite like fully extended side cut, but it does feel like this ski starts to be a little bit better and a little bit more oriented towards, you know, at least an intermediate level skier and somebody who's, whether consciously or not, somebody who is starting to like really work on their technique and their overall skiing ability, mostly on a groomer.
Like you're starting to feel it. You're starting to get that linked,
exactly.
You know, subsequent carve feeling.
Yeah, starting a turn with the shovel up here, where on a Maverick 84 and a Stance 80, those skis are great for somebody who is just kind of sliding around and skidding around. And that shape allows them to slide and skid around with no complaints, where, you know, this would start to not fight you, but you would notice it. You know, the tips are going to start grabbing in a little bit more.
Yeah, you'll feel the pull of the ski. You'll feel that power start to come in handy.
Yeah.
And a lot of that, like you said, is due to that front part.
Yeah, exactly. So just a slight cheat sheet there. We can just finish the video here. Just look at the tips.
Yep.
Not really, because that wouldn't be fun. But anyways, Steadfast 80 here from Nordica. I would say its bigger brother, the Steadfast 85 over there, has a pretty strong following. A lot of people will talk fondly of that ski. This one doesn't have quite the same pizzazz, or doesn't have as strong of a following, and I understand why, but it's still a really good ski. It's $749.99. I do think it's a slight uptick in binding here to this TP11. You know, it's like sort of a mini Griffin on a track, kind of.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Yeah, we're getting close, and I do think it's a noticeable performance uptick from there. And the construction is starting to step up a little bit here as well. We don't get the double core TI, I don't remember exactly what it's called, that we get in the 85, but we do get double core in this ski. So it's two really thin wood cores that are stacked on top of each other. It's a really interesting way to make a ski, and kind of feels like we're starting to see it more and more.
I mean, we got DPS, Kesley.
Yeah.
You know, definitely some more horizontal laminates filtering in.
Yeah. and we'll talk about it when we get to the 85, but that ski, in between those two cores, there's a sheet of Titanal. In this ski, it's just that pulse core, so more of like a rubber material that's still providing vibration damping, but doesn't quite have like the harshness of metal or the precision of metal.
I mean, they use it in their new Enforcers. You know, it's definitely
Pulse core.
Yeah, pulse core.
Pulse
it's
core is
like,
a performance thing.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, it by not including metal, they're making it a little easier here.
Yeah, for sure.
Pretty much in the exact same weight that we have been. We're right around 3,000 grams, maybe just 10 grams below 3,000. And yeah, like I was saying, this ski, I still can't really flex a ski very well, but it's a really, really good choice for somebody who's starting to work on kind of specifically their carving technique or really starting to want to do a little bit more when they're out there skiing. But at the 80 millimeter waist, I think it's important to, you know, not completely stick to groomers. Like you could take this off trail and be okay. It's not going to be as easy if you're venturing off trail as the first two skis that we looked at because of its shape. So a really good kind of progressing groomer skier wants a little bit more feedback, wants a little bit more stability. You can start skiing it a little bit faster and get a little bit more responsiveness and precision out of it.
Yeah.
That's how I think about the Steadfast 80.
Yeah, and I think that this and the 85 both really focus on round carves.
Yeah.
You know, it's still got a rounder shape. It's not quite as angular. We are moving more towards angular, but still very smooth, both from that construction and that shaping perspective. You know, we're not dealing with a super flat tail here, so still easy to release your turns. You know, flexing the ski, it definitely feels substantial.
Yeah.
You know, you're moving into something that has some pushback, some feedback to it. So you are getting a little bit more responsiveness. But yeah, overall, you know, a lot of edge contact here, long effective edge, you know, not as much length in the rocker, especially as we'll see even in some of the skis coming up, just have some slightly longer rocker profiles to them. But yeah, as you're progressing as a skier, having something like this is super handy. Very helpful.
And we didn't really mention it at the beginning of the video because we've done a lot of these already, but we are still going in that most approachable to most demanding progression. And something that just reminded me of that, it's quite consistent as you move through this, is the amount of vertical sidewall. And
increases as you get this way.
And we'll reach a point where, like, you know, we kind of like hit a point where everything just has vertical sidewalls once we get to Bob's side of the wall here. But, you know, just a progression from the start in that Maverick that's full cap construction to the Stance that's just vertical sidewall basically right underfoot, right in the binding area. And then this ski is pretty much, I mean, it's close to being true vertical sidewall. It just kind of like tapers into slightly more cap right here in the fore and aft sections of the ski.
Another kind of blanket statement about this group, in, you know, kind of get away from saying that each of them has their own turn radius. They're all really between 13 and 16 meter turn shapes. Like this, there's not a lot of variance in this group.
No, probably
radius.
I guess Peregrines would be the...
Yeah, but even that, you know, that central radius might be like 16 tops. But everything here is relatively short to mid radius.
Yep.
You know, basically 13 to 16.
Yeah, and not to stop you from moving on to this head here, but another thing that I was thinking about, and it's true with other brands too, but Nordica and Blizzard are sister brands, you could call it. They're kind of under the same parent company at least. And I've always thought that they also have a lot of similarities in how they build and think about skis as kind of independent brands. And it's a really nice natural progression. If you just took out all the Nordica and Blizzard skis and did a wall of those, it's like really easy to talk about the progression from a Steadfast 80 here to a Thunderbird 82 LTD.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's just like a perfect linear progression of performance.
No, for sure.
Anyways, that's it. You can talk about this now.
Onto the head shape EV10. This ski has been around for a few years, and one of the ones that we've always highlighted as having just a lot more technology and sophistication than a lot of other skis up here. You know, they really put a lot of their race room technology into this shape series. And it's also interesting to note that this is like, if you think about super shape, core, and then shape.
Yeah.
So this is like the third level of head in their catalog, and they're still really good skis.
Yeah.
You know, and reflected in the price, $849 here with the PR11 binding. But what you're getting from that is one of the more capable, shorter carving skis out there. So a little bit wider body platform. We're at 84 millimeters underfoot. A little bit lighter here, 2,810 grams. I think that's a lot due to that lighter weight Karuba wood core. We get graphene in this ski. We also get their energy management circuit in both the tips and the tails. So a lot of Head's high-end tech really gets filtered down into this Shape V10. Now, pretty interesting how they do that. You know, again, shorter turn radius. I think this one's might be a little bit shorter, well, 14.8 in the 177 here, and stiff. You know, like the interesting part is that it's light and stiff, and we've talked about that with core. That's the weight is what's keeping it kind of on that side, and the ability for it to be reactive and easy to get up on edge. What you do when you're up on edge is a little bit more up to you. You know, I found that you do have to kind of adhere to that turn radius. It doesn't love being pushed much beyond that, mostly because of that weight, that lack of metal. It's just not going to be as supportive as something with one or more sheets of metal. But for its weight and for what it's meant to do, it holds up really, really well. But yeah, definitely on that lighter and stiffer side, similar to a lot of the conversations we have with Head. And super long camber, you know, very, very long effective edge, minimal rocker in this ski, and you know, it'll collapse a little bit under the weight, but yeah, really long. And then starting to get a little bit more, you know, lack of taper in the tail here, as opposed to where we were just on that Steadfast, which was more rounded back here. So this is going to want to hold on to the turn a little bit longer and a little bit more aggressively. But yeah, if you can get, you know, if you can get past that flex in this ski, it is extremely capable at making very clean, linked, carved turns. And this is one of those ones that we've talked about for a while, being an excellent choice for an intermediate skier who wants a nicer set of stuff. Like it's accessible for an intermediate, and it really has a good, smooth feeling with really nice energy to it.
Yeah. It kind of just happens to be stuck in no man's land in the sense that no one really seems to ski on them. Yeah, for all of that, you know, it's a tough market. Have you ever seen one in the wild? I can't recall ever seeing one in the wild, which is too bad because like they're good skis. They're just, you don't really see them very often.
No.
And while we're on the head topic, it is the only head up here, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And I would like to just give a special shout out to the Super Shape Titan, which for whatever reason we seem to rarely have in this building. And I've always thought that's a little bit of a bummer because that's a fun ski. And, you know, if we were to place that on this wall, it would be right there at the end. Yep.
Probably one of the, within this last three.
It might even be the last one. But, you know, kind of a lot of things that we say when we get down there to Thunderbird 82 LTD, you can take a lot of that and apply it to the Super Shape Titan. The thing is just a wide, ripping carving ski. Like, feels like a race ski that's just wide.
Yeah, no, very similar to that Blizzard.
Yeah, and like, you know, you could say that about that Redster Q 9.8 over there
Yep.
is they basically build that like a race ski. They just make it wider.
Right.
And moving into this Redster Q 7.8, it's not exactly the same. Basically, we just get one sheet of metal in this ski to go along with its wood core rather than two. And we get RevoShock C instead of RevoShock S. So this is a carbon and elastomer based RevoShock rather than a metal and elastomer based RevoShock.
Yeah.
So just a little different where like that one is truly built like their Redster race skis for the most part. This one's intended to be a little bit more approachable, $799.95 too, where that ski, when you add in the second sheet of Titanal and a different binding, you're really pushing that price up to what?
$1049, yeah.
Yeah, so $250 difference. What binding do you have on yours?
Well, we can talk more about this here, but it's their new version of their X12 binding.
So it actually is the same binding.
No, this is... Yes.
Yeah.
No, it's different.
Huh.
This has the new full flex plate.
Oh, yeah,
on
thank
it.
you.
Yeah.
The toe and heels are
They look the same, yeah.
They're mostly the same.
Yeah, this plate is a lot sturdier.
You've got more metal in your heel as well.
Yeah.
So, anyways, like I was saying earlier, this is a great ski for that kind of progressing, developing skier, again, who's spending most of their time on trail. I remember it was probably like 2023 the first time we skied these, and it was very obvious getting on them, like just extremely intuitive in understanding what they want to do. They want to make really precise, clean, good technique turns on groomers. They just want to do it at kind of a more moderate pace, where the one that you're holding, the Q9.8, that thing can really handle some speed.
Yeah, and firmer snow. That's one of the bigger differences too, is you feel that additional grip on hard snow.
Yeah, but really, really good, approachable ski. Again, like it's just best to stay on groomers. But I think something that's probably a highlight of this ski is it is very, very good in its responsiveness. Like a lot of it comes from the shape, some of it comes from the construction as well. If you tip it up on edge and you ask it to do something, it's gonna do that thing very quickly. There's no like lag or delay. So I don't know, I think it can kind of translate to a lot of confidence for some skiers, and that the ski, it feels like it's giving you a lot of control, which is nice. So it's pretty one-dimensional in the sense that I think it's pretty easy to say who it's for and who it's not for, and I think it's for a relatively moderate level of aggressiveness groomer skier.
Yeah.
Somebody in kind of the intermediate to lower advanced level of skiing, and you're going to get a lot out of it. If you're outside of that from ability level or from your terrain choices, then I think there are a lot of better options. Even like if you're spending if you like the idea of going off trail, you could just save money and get a Maverick 84 and probably have a better time. So
yeah. I'm holding this one because I want to get a weight comparison, because it is pretty apples to apples with them sharing the same mold. 2,804 with the Q7.8, and then with the Q9.8, it is 3282. So
another sheet of metal, more metal in the binding.
Yeah. Thicker plate.
More substantial plate.
Yeah.
It is really interesting how similar the bindings are. At first glance, like they really tricked me with that toe piece.
I know, right? These are also, we'll get to it, but so much easier to install than the previous X12 bindings from Atomic. But yeah, 400 gram difference between the two. I mean, that's not unsubstantial.
Yeah.
But yeah, just shape-wise, like you were saying, Jeff, not a lot of taper here. That is really giving it its one-dimensional turn shape and style. Same with the tail. a lot more angular, and that's just showing that it wants to be linked carved turns.
Yeah.
And you do get a lot of energy with that carbon through that ski.
That's kind of what I meant by, like, it's pretty one-dimensional.
Yeah. And you know, it's kind of...
And I don't say that in a bad way. It's
no,
just,
and it's fair to say that about the Q9.8 too, just with a more planted feeling and a little bit more stability and sturdiness.
yeah. This one's a little bit of an outlier in this category.
Yeah.
I'm more like the ski that we started with, but an uptick in kind of construction technology.
Yeah, I like talking about this ski. This is a Dynastar M-Cross 82. You know, it's generally fair to say that it is a narrower version of the 88, slightly different construction and shape going on with this ski, as well as a slight downgrade in the binding. $749.95. I think that's a pretty good deal, ski and binding, considering kind of the versatility that you're getting with this thing. 3,000 grams just about, you know, kind of pretty standard for what we're dealing with on this wall here. But yeah, construction-wise, we do get their hybrid core 2.0 in this ski, so polyurethane along the side, and then 3 layers, another horizontal laminate story here, 3 horizontal layers of wood, and then we get metal underfoot, so it doesn't have the H-shaped titanal of the 88, even though it has these raised portions here, but it is just metal in that underfoot zone. And you know, from a shape perspective, certainly more of that all-mountain feel to it. So more drama in the tip shape in terms of both taper and rocker. So is that the most rocker we're going to see on this wall?
It's got to be. I was just going to make that statement before you even showed me.
Maybe these Peregrines have a longer profile, but this certainly has, you know, the most dramatic, and then certainly the most taper as well. That makes it really rise up well in softer snow. You know, we had a good day on these this past year, pretty soft conditions for Dynastar Ski Day, and I think one of our coworkers, Brad, got on this thing first. And you know,
both skied it, right?
Yeah, him and I both skied it, and it's one of those things where when you're not expecting the ski to really offer a lot, and then you get on it and you go and you're impressed.
Yeah.
You know, that's how I feel about this, and Brad said the same thing. He's like, I wasn't too stoked to get on that as opposed to an M3 or whatever, and you know, he was very impressed. So
yeah, I mean, it's like similar, like our initial reactions to a Stance 84.
Right.
Kind of reminds me of that.
Yeah, like I'd rather be on something else.
Yeah.
But you get on this and you know, it just makes just super snaky turns. You really just, the precision is great for how much rocker and taper it has. You know, quick 82 underfoot, great in the bumps, really good in the trees, packed out trees around here that we get a lot of. You know, certainly with that shorter turn radius, it's not going to hold up as well to speed. You do have to temper your expectations in that perspective, but for, you know, moderate speeds and short to medium radius turns, this thing's got a lot of kick to it and just ends up being a total blast.
Yeah.
Yeah, super fun.
Yeah. Nice, narrow, soft snow ski.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, it goes where you put it.
Yeah.
You know, and you don't get pulled through turns or kicked out of turns. It's very composed, very poised, and just one of those skis that I think really punches above its level.
Yeah.
So lots of different ability levels and styles of skiers would have fun on this. You know, similar to your V10, you know, when do you see these?
I was just going to say that. It's kind of one of those skis that, yeah, I'd say I feel more strongly about this one, that like lots of people should ski it, and kind of no one does. And really, you could traditionally say that about this entire category.
Right.
There's so many good skis up here, and it's just like, I understand it because it's human nature to kind of want to like, you like gravitate to the extremes.
It's like, why wouldn't I get the 88?
Right. Yeah. Or alternatively, like, you know, why would I get an an 84 underfoot or an 82 underfoot carving ski when I can get a 72 underfoot carving ski?
Yeah.
And like, yeah, those are perfectly good arguments or perfectly good questions to ask, but we've said it before that like if you're not in a race course, then like who's counting edge to edge transition milliseconds? Like I'm not.
Yeah, I mean it's the minority of the people for sure.
I mean, I don't think anybody is actually counting them, like quantifying it. Maybe people with the Carve app.
Yeah.
But I mean, like kind of more like emotionally, like it doesn't matter that much to me if my edge-to-edge transitions are that much quicker. So it's just, I don't know, it's an interesting conversation for an interesting grouping of skis.
Yeah, I agree. But this one, certainly one of the most all-mountain oriented.
Oh, 100%. I mean, it's like how we were describing the first two skis, but like I said, you get kind of an uptick in performance and quality moving to this Dynastar. And then back to Blizzard here with this Stormbird 80 Ti. Stormbird is all new for 2026 and kind of goes along with an expanded Thunderbird line. And I think it's great, you know, kind of just piggybacking off what we were just saying. I certainly wouldn't be surprised if the Stormbird skis don't end up being as popular, which would, again, like be a little bit of a bummer because they're great. And, you know, it's another like human nature thing that you might just want to go straight to Thunderbird 82. But realistically, for a lot of skiers, this Stormbird 80 Ti, and then just moving up a notch to that Stormbird 82 DTI, these very likely could be better. So this is still a True Blend wood core. It's what, True Blend Piste SP?
Sport Performance, yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
And it's still a mixture of poplar and beach. It's just a different mixture. When we get up into Thunderbird over there, you just see more of the denser beach material. They're both still under the kind of blanket term of True Blend Piste, but they are different. And then in this ski, we get a single layer of Titanal. And I think it's also important to point out that we got away from it for at least one ski there and maybe a few skis. But this one's got a pretty significant section that's cap construction. So that's doing a couple things. One, it's increasing durability like we talked about before. You know, it's I think like cap construction is often kind of like frowned upon, but there's some benefits to it as well. And then combining a single sheet of Titanal with this construction, you're getting a lot easier kind of tip in the initiation phase of a turn. It's just going to feel easier and kind of more gradual, particularly at slower to moderate speeds. But this ski is still like, it's still a high performing ski. It's still like, you can still kind of ski it fast and aggressively and it's going to work. So it's like, it could be really easy to overlook it in favor of those two skis over there. Or there's also the non-LTD Thunderbird 82. So you've got several choices and another one if you want to put the Steadfast 85 in there. But for that kind of progressing upper level intermediate to advanced skier, I'd say especially somebody who is like your age or older, would you agree? Starting to slow down a little bit.
I mean, it's a comfortable cruiser.
Yeah, and you still get like a lot of the fun, responsive, performance-oriented feels and vibes that you do on those skis over there. So I just hope people consider these. Again, I'll let Bob show the shape, but it's a very responsive, performance-oriented shape. They just take a notch off the top level performance to make it a little bit more approachable, which I think is great. And I don't know if I said the price yet, but it's $849.99. So basically same price as that Shape V10. We're starting to get up in you know, not expensive, but
It's
like
a quality
this is
range.
this is a serious, well-built
Yeah.
ski. It's the same price as that Steadfast 85 there,
Yeah.
and you know a lot of people love that Steadfast 85. So I could see it happening, kind of like based off its visual looks and the cap construction of somebody wanting to place it into a beginner intermediate
Yeah.
place in their mind, but it doesn't belong there. It's quite a good ski.
And we basically have our scale on lock at 3,000 grams.
Yeah, it could
There's,
just stay
like,
there.
Not a lot of variance so far in weight other than that head, which
Yeah.
is a little bit lighter. But
Yeah, not much rocker to speak of
no,
over there.
no, very much front side on piste oriented
Yeah.
shape, and I think that's kind of the story behind Stormbird. Is this, you know, they're always mixing, you know, shape and construction, and this is certainly on piste construction, slightly lower shape.
Yeah,
And then you kind of get to something, I mean, I would say like Steadfast 85, a little bit rounder of a shape, but an uptick in construction.
Yep.
So they're always kind of playing around with that level, that ratio of shape and performance as related to build. But yeah, pretty standard on-piste look here, more race-like than something like Steadfast.
yeah, and like they've got a lot of skis now in kind of the
Yeah, they sure do.
75 to 82
Yep.
underfoot, front side oriented carving
Yeah.
category.
Yep.
So, you know, it's always interesting to see that, and who knows how that'll shake out, where people's preferences will fall.
Totally. My preference kind of falls to this thing. I really enjoy this Volkl Peregrine 80.
Well, when I noticed that you got to talk about both of them, I figured that made sense.
Yeah. This ski returns structurally unchanged from last year. Oh, we got to lock that out. There we go.
Oh, I meant to talk about the thickness of metal. We'll do that when we get to
Okay.
the next
The
one,
82.
if I remember all the thicknesses.
Okay. I might be able to help you out.
It's a tricky one.
But yeah, we're definitely moving up in sophistication and engineering, especially with this Peregrine 80. Yeah, structurally unchanged. We do get a slightly new graphic design for this year. $1,099.99 for this setup. You know, it sounds expensive, but you are getting like Volkl's high-end stuff. It is built with their multi-layer wood core, poplar and beech. We get a Titanal band through the middle of the ski and tailored carbon tips. So lots of those things that we see in all the higher end Volkl skis found in this Peregrine 80. And it's a pretty interesting conversation when we move to Peregrine 82 because it is a lot of preference. And we've kind of noted that in the past when these skis were brought forth, 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, I think.
I think this is their second year, right? I think last year was the first year for Peregrines.
But yeah, we noted pretty quickly right away that they just have different turn shape preferences, and that's not to take away the performance level of this ski. Certainly the 82 with more metal is going to hold up better at speed and be more stable, a little bit more damp. But I actually really prefer the energy, kind of a more Z-shaped turn that these skis make. You know, the high speed capability isn't what it is in the Peregrine 82 or most of the skis to that side of the wall for sure. But the energy, the quickness, the mogul skiing, that's what I like to do.
Yep.
So this ski kind of fits me a little bit better on paper, even if the 82 is more my style on, or this fits me better on snow.
Yep.
Peregrine 82 fits me a little bit better on paper.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, again, 3,030 grams here with this ski. Part of the really nice thing about this is that integrated binding system where we're moving into, you know, pretty much a Griffin toe. Still get that TPX style heel, but this system is integrated into the ski as opposed to drilled onto it. And Volkl's been doing a great job at that for years, and it really, I mean, in my mind, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Having that binding just directly connected to the ski, giving you a little bit better responsiveness, and I really like it. just super easy. Kind of seems to keep the weight down too. Just make it easier to use. But yeah, if we decamber this thing, the rocker starts well down into the ski. A very low profile tip. You know, I think that's kind of a fun thing, keeping the ski close to the snow. And it works very well in conjunction with their 3D radius. So being able to make different turn shapes and styles with ease, playing around with edge angles is way easier when the ski has a flatter camber profile. Just makes it so much simpler to play around with that and get up on high edge and get a short turn through the middle or stay low and have more stability at speed.
Yeah,
Makes a lot of sense.
is now a good time to ask a question?
Okay.
Do you think it kind of like punches above its positioning here? Like,
Yeah.
is that why you would place it here? You know, I think it's fair to say that the performance in like at least a carving on trail perspective outperforms at least these two.
Yeah.
And potentially some over there too, yet I kind of agree that it belongs here from an approachability perspective.
I think that flatter profile
Yeah.
really allows skiers of many different levels
Yeah,
to
I do too.
swish the ski like
Yeah.
it's a smeary 80.
Yeah.
You know, that doesn't exist.
Yeah, because like, you know, looking at the $1,100 price tag,
Yeah.
like we're not going to see a ski that's more expensive than that until we get to the next Peregrine.
Yeah.
So it's like, I could see somebody watching this video or looking at that ski and its position on this wall and thinking that it was overpriced, but it's more like impressive that it's
Yeah.
over here.
Yeah.
It's not a bad thing that it's over here and expensive. It's a good thing that it's over here because it hits a really high performance ceiling, but is approachable too. So has
Yeah.
that just massive range.
No, quality certainly factors in here as well. As
Yeah.
Volkl does a great job with their engineering
Yeah.
for sure.
Figured I'd kind of point that out.
Nope, good point.
And I feel like you've always gotten along really well with this
Yeah.
one, and I've always gotten along really well with the 82.
Yeah, I mean, I have nothing bad to say about the 82 other than that does more of my style turns,
Yeah.
and this one does more of your style turns.
Big, round,
yeah,
swoopy
really,
turns.
Yeah, like tree line to tree line.
Yeah, love it.
Yep.
So anyways, we'll talk about that when we get there. In the meantime, this is the Fischer The Curv GT 80. Really nice ski. Bob and I spent more time on that 85 this past season than the 80. So excited to talk about that when we get there. But this is another one that's really good. I would place it in a similar categorization as the Steadfast 80, but a little uptick in performance too. So we get a poplar and beech wood core in this ski, and then a single sheet of 0.5 millimeter thickness shaped TI. That shaped TI term, I'd say it's fair to say it comes from Rangers, and a slightly different application here, but they do call out that it's that shaped TI.
Yeah, I think that's
It's just kind of a buzzword.
I don't want to say it's a cop out. Like all the metal has a shape.
Right,
Yeah, it's shaped Titanal.
right.
It's shaped to fit this ski.
Yeah, yeah. That's kind of what I was
Yeah.
getting at.
Yeah.
But you know, I mentioned thickness of Titanal in reference to this Stormbird 80, and that'll come up again when we keep going with Stormbirds and Thunderbirds. But it is an interesting conversation, and while we're at it, that's 0.4 millimeter thickness in that Stormbird. This is 0.5. When we get up to the 85, it goes all the way up to 0.8 millimeters, and there's two of them.
Yeah.
So a pretty significant jump there. But yeah, this thing's really fun to ski. I like I mentioned already, it's quite similar to that Steadfast 80. I do think it's a little bit more responsive, a little bit crisper on a groomer, coming from its shape, particularly the tail. When we flip it over, I'll have Bob flip it over. But aside from that, it's pretty much the same story. If you want a ski that's very good at helping you kind of progress into better turns, I think this one's really, really good. I'll let you flex it, but there's some like suppleness to the tips and tails, and I do remember it was 2,900 grams there. So you get like precision out of the shape, but you get some, it's pretty smooth when you initiate any kind of turn on it because it's not jarringly stiff, which I think is really nice.
Yeah.
So you can kind of, the two benefits to that, you can manipulate the ski a little bit more. Like we skied it with Louise a couple of years ago, who's like not really your prototypical carver. She's like free ride world tour style skier. Yeah. And I remember watching her ski it and like kind of admiring the ski's ability to let Louise do what she wanted to do, where some skis up here would kind of fight you and feel a little bit jarring. This one allows for that, so you can manipulate it, you can make some slightly different style turns, and then it also comes along with forgiveness. So it's like for a higher level skier, it's that manipulation and making the ski do different things. For a progressing intermediate, it's the forgiveness as you're kind of figuring things out and figuring out your technique and your weighting. If you make a mistake or you get in the back seat, it's not gonna complain too much.
Yeah.
So I think it's a really nice mix in this ski of performance and capabilities, but also forgiveness and kind of compliance too.
Yeah, I found that this is like, it's more pep than power.
Yeah.
It's kind of, other than the shape, it's a similar difference from the Q7.8 to the Q9.8, from this to the 85.
Yeah, that's a pretty good example. I do think this like kind of outclasses the Q7.8. They feel a little bit stronger or smoother, and not a huge difference in price. This ski is $824, so I mean squarely in the same price range as that Q7.8. I'd say if anything, that one's a little bit better for a true intermediate. This one's a little bit better as you're ticking up your ability.
Yeah, I go along with that for sure. But yeah, shape-wise, it is more wide front side versus all mountain.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely not a lot of taper going on, and pretty flat, square, and angular in the tail, and then nice positive camber. That's where that pep comes from, is that really tall positive camber in the ski.
Yeah, and back to like a PR11 basically for a binding on there. Very similar, pretty much exactly the same binding on that Shape E V10.
Yep. All right, Stance 84 time here, Jeff.
Yeah.
This ski has been around for a while, and one of those skis that does not just it doesn't naturally enter a conversation of mid-80s skis. You have to have some intimate knowledge on it. You got to get on it. You have to experience what it has to offer to kind of appreciate the beauty of it, I think.
Yeah, it's such a great little ski.
Yeah, and totally unassuming.
Yeah.
I think that's the really fun part too. For this year, we get a new graphic, and it only comes in a system. So, Salomon's catalog doesn't show it as being offered flat anymore. We covered the Stance Pro 82 and 86 in the last comparison. They are different constructions, different shapes. It's not a night and day difference of ski, so I think that if you are a Stance 84 fan and are looking, and you don't want a system ski, you could get either one of those and be more than happy.
Yeah.
Just under 2,900 grams, 2826 here in the 185, so this is a longer ski, kind of highlighting the slightly lighter nature of this thing. But again, we get a poplar wood core, we get a sheet of metal, carbon stringers in this ski, so there is that higher end construction to it as well. More sidewall than what we see in the 80. That's kind of the big construction difference, is just this longer vertical sidewall, and that's giving it a higher quality feel with increased edge grip for sure. Price-wise, where are we at here? $749.95. I think that's a great deal for this ski with bindings. But yeah, more of an all-mountain style, And when you get to this width range, you're starting to get a little bit more demand. So that wider bodied ski really just takes a little bit more work to get it to make more carving style turns. Maybe close to that Dynastar, Jeff, in terms of rocker profile.
That one might do it. I'm not going to take it off the wall because it's challenging. But it's quite similar. Comparable amounts of tip rocker.
Taper shape too, pretty similar to that Dynastar, where we're looking at slightly more versatility, especially in softer snow, and then pretty similar tail rocker to what we saw in that Stance 80. But yeah, super fun in the bumps, really good in the trees. It's not going to outclass most of these skis in a groomer carving format. Probably one of the last I would reach for a race course or for a morning of straight up on-piste skiing on firm snow.
Yeah.
But as conditions degrade throughout the day, if you're looking to be more adventurous but you just don't want a super wide ski, something like this, or this specifically, is a really, really good option.
Yeah, there's kind of only like 2 skis that it outperforms for carving up here, and it's the Stance 80 and that Maverick 84.
Yeah.
You could make some arguments, but it would be more stylistic of your preferences through this section.
Yeah, but really quick edge to edge for an 84, you do kind of get that the extended tip and tail rocker that allows you to stay in the middle of the ski and just get really, really good quickness, whether you're on trail or off.
Yeah.
But yeah, certainly punches above its level in a performance standpoint. It's not the same as the Stance 90 or the 96 in terms of performance, but it's pretty close. And then, compared to the 82 and the 86 Pro, I find that this has a little bit more energy and zip to it.
Yeah, it's a little bouncier.
Those other ones are a little bit more damp.
Yeah.
The Stance Pros have a thicker wood core, thicker poplar wood core, thicker edges. It's a more dense feeling than this, which is a little bit more electric.
Yep. Yeah, I agree with that.
But yeah, super fun ski. Happy to have it here.
Yeah, it's a good one. Yeah. It'll be like sad when it goes away, and then that's probably like kind of a personal thing.
Right.
I don't know that like everybody out there that skied a Stance 84 has the same like emotional attachment to it as you and I do.
Yeah.
But yeah, for some reason, or it's probably location and snow conditions and general vibes of the day, but it certainly feels like every single time I've skied a Stance 84, I've had a great time.
Yeah, I've never had a bad time on a Stance 84.
Yeah. So, emotion can play into it. And, I'd say the same thing about this next ski. I don't think I have ever had a bad time skiing the Nordica Steadfast 85 DC. Boy, is this going to be the heaviest ski yet? It could be.
Got some weight.
3,300 grams, I think it is. So anyways, if you think back to the Steadfast 80 conversation that we recently had, basically take that, make it 8 millimeters wider, and add that sheet of Titanal between those 2 cores, and it's pretty substantial. You can see it here.
Yeah.
So it is an uptick in performance, and I really like what Bob was saying, how these kind of compared to the Thunderbirds at least, a little bit more all-mountain focused, a little bit more versatile. I would say compared to the Stance 84, it kind of leans back the other direction, a little bit crisper, a little bit more groomer performance than a Stance 84, and maybe you're trading some all-mountain quickness. They also go up $100 from Stance 84? Yeah, so up to $849.99 here. And I do think that's a very appropriate price, and I think there's a lot of value in this ski. We're up to a TPX 12 binding, so a pretty solid kind of performance-oriented binding, really strong advanced construction in this ski, and it just feels like solid and very well made. And I think it's a blast. I would say I'm one of those skiers that thinking back to talking about Stance 84 and its carving performance compared to some of these over here that are crisper, I'm often very willing to trade some crispness for a little bit more, not like looseness, but I prefer the strength over the crispness. And if I had to like choose one over the other, I'm going with the strength. And I do feel like this ski has it. It's interesting as we move into Stormbirds and Thunderbirds that use 2 sheets of metal, because you're ticking up the performance more with those skis, but there really aren't that many people out there that are going to find a limit to the Steadfast 85. And I think much more likely that if you took 100 different skiers of varying ability levels, I would say the overwhelming response would be how easy it is to ski, how fun it is to ski, and not many people would have not many people would be wishing for that much more power. There would be some.
Right, yeah.
There are always some, but it doesn't feel like there would be that many. So I think a really good one. It's also like pretty interesting because it's, reasonably close to an Enforcer 89.
Yeah.
And like
it's rounder.
It's than an Enforcer 89 in its turn shape.
Its turn shapes.
Yeah, an Enforcer 89 is much rounder in its shape. But yeah, this one makes clean, crisp turns. Not quite as versatile as the Enforcer series, but a nice like progression into the Enforcers if you're kind of going through Nordica skis narrowest to widest.
Yeah.
So I think a really good one, and it's already earned itself quite a strong following. I think it's like I've never talked to somebody who doesn't like it. It always does pretty well on our ski test.
Yeah, vastly positive
Yeah.
feedback from
Yeah.
anyone who gets on this thing.
Yeah.
It does top out at a 179.
Yeah, that is
and
interesting.
I think that's, but also when I skied the 179, I'm not thinking
You don't need a
the
186.
the style of the ski does not require a longer length.
Right, and like similarly, like this is the 174. And
Yeah.
What would the reason be to go longer for me? I don't really think there would be one.
No, like I said, it's what the ski wants to do does not require longer lengths.
Yeah, so not the crispest, cleanest carving ski out there, but quite good. And then it also comes along with a little bit of versatility and just overall a very smooth feel. It's not hooky, it's not catchy. You kind of pointed out the rounder tail shape, which I'll let you show again. And I think those things are really nice on a ski like this for your kind of average all-mountain groomer skier.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, it wasn't too long ago that we showed the shape of the 80. Same thing applies.
Yeah.
This thing is a little bit stiffer and certainly has that dampness due to the metal. But yeah, slightly rounder, more round than we see in Stormbird and Thunderbird and stuff like that, but also not the roundest. So a mix, rounder tail, not too sharp, not too angular, really allows you to get out of your turn when asked, as opposed to just being ripped through the turn. But yeah, super fun. I agree. One of those skis that oddly is emotionally attaching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks good too.
Yep.
It's got a lot of good things going for it.
Certainly an improvement for this year.
Yeah.
We got a new ski here, Jeff.
Yeah.
This is the K2 Blur XT. It's 83 underfoot, and I think it's fair to say that this ski kind of takes the place of the Disruption 82 Ti. Disruption seems to be paring down their skis. Blur seems to be ticking up.
Yeah.
So kind of the two main models in Blur are this XT and then a Blur 79. This one is the wider and is the more powerful of the two. We'll have that 79 in probably the next comparison. And they are quite a bit different. This thing has that kind of marker Comp 12 binding on it. 3,300 grams, so we are ticking up in weight as well. Construction-wise, built with K2's Aspen wood core, and then we get Titanal H-beam. So Mindbender, Titanal Y-beam, Disruption, Titanal I-beam, and Blur, we get Titanal H-beam. So just think of an H-shaped metal on top of this wood core ski here.
I'm looking forward to Titanal X-beam.
X-beam. I mean, you could...
X-beam would work.
This, I mean, basically it's X-beam because you have the crux in the middle as the waist.
Yeah.
So
I also want Titanal Z-beam.
all sorts of different beams.
I think we should really use the asymmetric letters for our beams.
Okay.
Like, could Elan use Titanal F-beam?
Yeah, or L.
Yeah.
Yeah. Think we're on to something here.
I do too.
But yeah, we do get that metal kind of in the arms. And I can't help but think back to like a K2 Iconic 84, that this is kind of a reincarnation of an Iconic 84.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Is a solid carving ski that happens to perform well all mountain.
Yeah.
Or you could flip it. It's a solid all mountain ski that happens to be a fantastic carver. So I think that the versatility is something to highlight here. When we skied it, our K2 rep was out on it, and it was a pretty soft day.
Yeah.
And he was doing great in snow that we were skiing, like a Mindbender 106C.
Yeah.
That if you're thinking about a Mindbender 106C, those were the snow conditions. This Blur XT handled it pretty darn well.
Yeah, which I thought was like a cool representation of its capabilities.
Yeah.
And like this category in general.
Sure.
You can ski just about anything.
Yep.
Like some of them, especially some of the stiffer kind of aggressive carvers down there, they come along with some limitations, but for the most part, yeah, just grab it and go.
Yeah.
For a long time, this was super wide.
Right. The thought of me skiing an 83 underfoot was
Right.
silly.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
not like the snow has changed in the last 20 years.
Nope. You should be good to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Flexible enough. It certainly has a smooth flex to it. And I felt that on snow where it was fine taking all of that flex and getting into the side cut of the ski. I thought it was really well-rounded in that regard. And kind of a lower profile as well. I think that that's kind of borrowed from Disruption where there wasn't a whole lot of splay either. But yeah, nice wide shovel, long camber underfoot, starting to get a little bit more square towards the tail here. But
Yeah. It's an interesting shape. Like the tip doesn't like look too aggressive, but then the tail does.
yeah, and I think that speaks to its versatility where you can get, in broken snow and softer snow. And
Yeah, it's got the flex and the shape to just
Yeah.
kind of like cut through things.
Yeah. No, I found this to have really good suspension.
Yeah.
From the flex and the metal. It does a good job at keeping the noise down.
Yeah.
But stoked to see this from K2.
Yeah, it's like, I think like K2's narrower options is always interesting because it's not really what the company's known for. Don't have a strong race heritage or anything like that. So it's kind of hard for them to like get a strong grasp. And, it's like the Disruption skis were fun, the MTI and the TI2.
Yeah.
And I own a TI2 and I really like it. But, it's like, I don't know that anyone from K2 would say that range was particularly successful from a sales perspective.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that, I feel like this Blur line has a little bit more K2 attitude infused into it. So I'm hoping that it takes off a little bit more.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah. Next one is this Thunderbird 82.
Stormbird.
How many times am I going to do that in the next year or
Quite a
next
bit.
3 years?
Yeah.
Thank you. This is the Stormbird 82 DTI. I would have caught myself because the next thing I was going to say is realistically, this performance is starting to get somewhat close to the Thunderbird 82 LTD.
Yeah.
Not quite there, but it's kind of like, I feel like they're more similar than they are different, which is going to create an interesting buying decision between this ski, the Thunderbird 82 and the Thunderbird 82 LTD.
Right, and we don't have that normal Thunderbird 82.
I think there's like one
show.
out there in the hallway.
Yeah.
But yeah, we don't have like a ton of them in stock. Kind of opted for that LTD instead. So if people do have more specific questions about that ski or really anything that's not up here, certainly can let us know, because chances are we've spent a considerable amount of time on it. So this one's interesting. Same wood core that we talked about in this ski, so that True Blend Piece Sport Performance wood core, poplar and beech, less beech than we get in Thunderbird. And then we do get 2 sheets of metal in this ski. And like I was saying, this ski gets 0.4 millimeter thickness Titanal, 1 sheet. This ski has 2 sheets. One is 0.4, one is 0.6, excuse me, and I don't remember whether the 0.4 is on the base.
I think the 0.4 is on the base.
I think so too, but don't quote me on that one. But it's 2 sheets of Titanal. One is 0.4 millimeter thickness, one is 0.6. What's interesting is Blizzard doesn't state the thickness of Thunderbird metal. They just say Titanal, which leads me to believe that it's at least 0.6, and I would guess probably 0.7.
It looks thicker.
Yeah.
You know,
0.7 is a common thickness for metal.
Yeah.
So that would be my educated guess there. And there are more differences too. When we get to that ski, we can talk about them. And it is reflected in the price too. I don't remember if we said the price of Blur, but
Did not.
It's $1,000 for Blur. We're in a really similar range here at $949.99 in Stormbird 82. And then, you know, you go up $350 to get to that Thunderbird 82 LTD. And we will absolutely talk about why, and there are very obvious things to point to for why. But, you know, is it $350 better? I think that's a question that is certainly worth asking. So yeah, this is a great ski, 3,200 grams on our scale here. It's pretty hefty. Again, we've got a TPX 12 on this ski. So where was the last TPX 12 on the Steadfast?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's really intended to be basically in that same class as Steadfast 85, but as we're adding a sheet of metal compared to Steadfast, that's where you see the increase in price. A sheet of Titanal easily accounts for $100 in ski construction. It's really expensive stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it's like I can't really flex things very well.
Yeah.
But for a lot of skiers, if you're looking for an 8,200 foot carving ski, you don't really need to go that much beyond that. For some skiers, there will be benefits of continuing to the right. And, you know, there are some differences too, like Peregrine does different things. Montero AX just kind of feels completely different.
Yeah.
But if you're kind of sticking to that like on-trail carving performance in this 82 width range, Stormbird 82 DTI is really good. And like kind of just feels like it could be called a Thunderbird. It wouldn't make sense to have 3 8,200 foot Thunderbirds, but do you know what I mean by that? Like its performance is pretty much right there.
Yeah, and you know, they certainly share a mold.
Yeah.
You know, it's not, there's no difference in the shape or profile of these skis.
Yeah.
We had just had 3,200 grams there.
It's got to be 35.
35.
Yeah.
So you're
probably the heaviest ski on the wall.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we'll find out. But you've got 3 82 underfoot skis from Blizzard to choose from. Realistically, they are all very good. Like,
yeah,
I wouldn't worry really about which you're choosing among those 3. Yes, Stormbird's going to be a little bit easier going, a little bit more approachable, but you just showed the flex pattern. It's not like it's a soft flexing ski, and it shares the same shape. So, you know, ease of use and forgiveness is going to come through more in things like weight, overall fatigue. So it's, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
And how much easily accessible energy. I think that that's a big one.
Yeah.
Is I want more energy with less work.
Yeah.
You're getting it from this.
Yeah.
With that lighter wood core. You know, they don't have the carbon armor. It's lighter. So
Yeah.
you're just getting easier zip.
Yeah, and like probably, you know, easier to like get that nice snappy apex.
Yeah.
Like Thunderbird, I didn't talk about active carbon armor. I figured I'd wait to do that for the end. But on that Thunderbird, you need to be going a little bit faster, or need firmer snow, or need more pitch, or be heavier.
Yes.
To push right through to get like the true roundness of the kind of apex of your turn.
Yeah.
So, slight difference there, but it's not like this one like lacks edge grip.
No, and we put some really strong skiers on this and didn't hear anything from the complaint department.
Yeah. So, yeah, you know, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Like it would have been really interesting to be a fly on the wall in like Blizzard's product development meetings of like, yeah, we're going to make 382 underfoot skis that are all pretty similar.
Yeah. You're like, okay.
Yeah, and it's like I understand it. It is interesting, but you know, it's like different markets will kind of respond better to those three different options. And I would venture a guess that you'd be hard pressed to walk into a ski shop and find all three.
Right, someone's going to draw a line.
I think that,
somewhere.
you know, and that's what I mean by like different markets and different regions, and like those people that work in those shops in those regions are going to have a better idea. We would kind of be the outlier in the sense that it would make more sense for us to carry all three, and we come pretty darn close to carrying all three. There are some 82 non-LTDs here, just not a ton.
Yeah. Moving on to the next Volkl Peregrine. This is the Peregrine V-Werks. This is carryover everything except the name from 2 years ago when they moved everything to Peregrine.
This thing's been the same for what, 5 years?
4 or 5 years, I think.
Yeah.
This is still Deacon 84 footprint. And I'm all for that. I really think that it works well at 84 millimeters underfoot. And we have talked about V-Werks being kind of the R&D or the experimental and prototypical branch of Volkl's development. And like this one has really had some staying power, not only just from its longevity of its lifespan, but it's also still like contributing technology to modern Volkl skis.
Yep.
So we see a tailored Titanal frame here. We see the tailored carbon tips. Those have all become mainstream within Volkl's line, whether it's Mantra or Peregrine, other Peregrine skis. And yeah, I think it's really interesting how they've made this kind of lighter weight concept ski stick around. And again, like, no one in the complaint department on this thing. Like they're just very well liked. They're pretty easy to use overall. I do think that there's a component that keeps it on the more demanding side, and that's the thinness of the profile.
I'll complain.
Okay.
For me, they're like too responsive. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I appreciate them.
This is first generation tailored carbon tips.
Oh yeah.
Like they've come a long way since then in terms of their design and scope. So I think that that's valid to be like, all right, we haven't thinned the metal yet.
Yeah.
We haven't reduced the amount of stringers. So you still do get that extreme precision, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
I feel like with the lighter weight core and slightly softer flex than even the Deacon 84.
Yeah.
Was there ever a Peregrine 84, or did they go right to Peregrine 82?
Peregrine 82.
Okay, so I'm correct.
Yeah.
With the Deacon. Okay. Even that ski was a little bit denser and heftier overall.
Yeah, for whatever reason, I preferred that one.
Yeah. I mean, just a little bit more lag time due to the weight.
I think so. Yeah, a little damper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because when you pair a lighter swing weight with
All that
stuff, carbon and stuff, yeah, it's going to hook in.
Yeah.
Just under 3,000 grams in this ski here, and we do follow Volkl's very flat overall profile. But you can see a difference between this and those Peregrine shape tips, which are lower and flatter. You know, they've definitely made some moves. But yeah, thin overall profile, and I think that not everyone likes how precise that is.
Yeah, that's all it is.
Yeah, when you tip it up on edge, think about it like we've talked about a DPS Kaizen 105 specifically. Just razor thin along the sidewalls. And if you're not ready for it or balanced, then it's really gonna take you for a ride.
Yeah.
When you combine that with Volkl's engineering and construction and just the sheer amount of carbon in this ski, yeah, it's gonna do the same thing as that DPS or even like the old head core would do, where it's just whoop, there it goes. So there is some of that going on. The metal does balance it quite a bit, but again, not for everyone in that regard. You know, it's so thin, it just makes it a little bit harder. But I actually find these to be reasonably versatile because they're easy to move. You know, that lighter weight, lighter swing weight, if you can get beyond that thinner profile, you can move these things around pretty easily in bumps and trees and whatnot. They also just cut real clean arcs right through the bottom. You don't have to be on firm snow. They do work better on softer groomers, late day mush, stuff like that. I think they do a nice job of handling adversity.
Yeah.
That doesn't come cheap here, Jeff. $1449.99.
This is the expensive grouping, this and the next ski.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've hit the $1,400 for a couple skis.
Yeah. But it's crazy. You do get that same low ride marker system binding on there. We're basically at a Griffin demo, which you'll see in the Peregrine 82 as well, integrated into the ski.
Yeah.
So you're getting it all with this thing, and yeah, I think it's great.
Yeah, I wonder when we'll get a change.
I don't know.
Who knows?
Another Werks, they're going to have to kind of take their research to the next level.
Right. Yeah. Here's another one that I'll quote Bob in saying that no one's ever complained about this Stockli Montero AX. Is that fair?
I'm sure someone has.
Yeah, I probably could. I think the AR has a nicer color. That's it, though. The rest of it is incredible. This is the Montero AX. It is an outlier in this grouping in the sense that this is a flat ski. So, a little bit more customization in what you want to do with it. It's still not cheap, so it's $1,439, and that's before your choice of binding. So easily the most expensive ski up here, and we've talked about that with Stockli a lot at this point. It really just comes down to their manufacturing, both the materials and the processes themselves. They have a lot of different people that touch a pair of skis as it goes through the manufacturing process, and each one of those people is someone else you got to pay.
Yep,
so
they got families to feed too.
Yeah, so all of that is reflected in that price, but they are incredible to ski. Poplar and beech wood core in this ski. There's 2 sheets of Titanal in here. We get that rubber dust that Stockli is, I don't know, not famous for, but
they're proud.
At least between Bob and I, Stockli is famous for the rubber dust, and it truly does add like another layer of vibration damping that you just don't really find anywhere else. It's always an interesting conversation with Stockli because it's not the most powerful ski up here. Like a Thunderbird 82 LTD blows this thing out of the water when it comes to just pure raw power.
Yep.
But this is smoother and has better vibration damping. And that's basically true across the board with any Stockli in its category. And I can't help but point towards that rubber dust. It is a full carryover ski from last year, so same graphic. And we did see some changes going from the previous generation into these, most notably this tip and tail flex zone. So they basically just kind of removed some materials from the tips and tails, give it a little bit more suppleness in its tip and tail flex. I don't necessarily know that it needed it, but I also don't like dislike it. You know what I mean? I think the previous ski initiated the turn beautifully and like never felt too demanding. But I also don't think this took anything away from the performance. And if it opened it up to more people in the intermediate range that can enjoy a Stockli, then I'm all for it. So really fun. I own one in the old generation, so I've skied it quite a lot. It's 80 underfoot, and although it's kind of on the narrower side in this grouping, to me it is quite versatile. It makes beautiful turns on groomers. I absolutely love carving on this ski. When we were still doing ski bum race, which we haven't done in a few years, I was racing on mine and did quite well.
Yeah.
Like all sorts of people would look at me funny in the start gate with their 188, 27-meter giant slalom skis, and I was on my 170-something Montero AX, and kind of scoffed at me, and then I would beat them. So makes really nice, clean turns. And yeah, I do think you can take it off trail. You can ski it in bumps and trees and do just fine. It's 1,800 grams on the scale, so really, I mean, pretty much the lightest ski up here, or at least one of the lightest skis up here. You can, again, like further customize that with your binding. If you want to try to hone in on a lightweight binding and keep it super light, you can, or you could put a marker comp on here and have like a real kind of stronger, burlier feeling platform overall. It's tough to land on single things to say about this ski because it's just so much fun. And I suppose I'll leave it and get your opinion with just, it doesn't excel at anything. It's not the best at anything, but it is so much fun to ski and just like incredibly rewarding. And that, you know, you see a lot of them here in Stowe, and it kind of makes sense for a few different reasons. It works really well in our terrain here. It can handle really firm snow when we get it. And there's also a lot of people in this town with a ridiculous amount of money to spend.
Yep.
So it's always like, you know, is a $1,400 ski without a binding, is that worth it for you? That's a very personal question. I want a Scotty Cameron putter.
Yeah, right.
Am I like gonna go buy one? I really have to think about it.
Yeah.
But if I had a ton of money in the bank, I would just go buy 10 Scotty Cameron putters. Yeah. So it's a personal thing.
We also have great trails here. Like our trails are very meandering and windy and natural, and I think that fits this type of ski where you're not locked into a Thunderbird R15 82 type of GS shape.
Yeah, Thunderbird, that's a great, like Thunderbird R15 82 LTD, that like basically wants just like
a highway.
A wide open, super wide pitch that's like not a double fall line, that's just straight, steep, firm. So you can just make like perfect, clean, round arcs where Montero AX will basically let you do whatever you want.
Yeah, I think that's part of the beauty of this ski is that you can access the flex and make, you know, short, medium, long, short, medium.
Whatever you want.
Yeah, you can really vary easily. Yeah. And I think that's a big part of the charm.
Yeah.
But yeah, not cheap.
No, not cheap. And I've got a pivot on mine, which I've always thought is a really fun combination because that even like exaggerates what you were just saying, that it is flexy and you can manipulate its flex pattern into what you want it to do.
Well, people also put like plates on them too.
I know. There's a
big range.
Huge range of customization.
This Volkl Peregrine 80, we do get 82, excuse me. We do get a new top sheet for this year, but similar to the 80, it returns structurally unchanged. It is heavier than that 80. Do we want to throw that 80 up there? This is 3,095.
Not that much heavier, right? It's just what, like 28 something? Yeah, 3.
Yeah. You get more metal in this ski here. So tailored Titanal frame plus a sheet of metal below. And then you are in that Griffin range for binding. So those are the notable upgrades. The 2 millimeters of width I find aren't really as important as the change
Completely
in construction.
Completely negligible.
Yeah.
The 80 to 82. I agree.
Yeah, they could.
They could call them different. Like it could be like a Stormbird Thunderbird situation.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
The construction of these skis is what separates their performance and ultimately their audience. And again, it's not like it's a higher end audience and a lower. I think that sure, generally you could say that, but you do have to kind of get on them and feel which one works better for you. Like we talked about before, Jeff seems to align better with the Peregrine 82.
Yeah, I love skiing that.
Making just long swooping turns, full carve,
edge to
edge on the trail.
Make all the people behind you really annoyed.
Yeah, take full advantage of all available real estate and acreage out there. That's where the 82 shines, whereas that 80 is more of a corridor or a hallway style ski. This thing likes to open it up and run a little bit more, and you do get the resulting performance due to the increase of metal. So certainly an uptick in stability and power. And then conversely, you get a downtick in quickness and agility.
Yeah.
So trying to make the same turns on a Peregrine 82 that you do on an 80 is quite a bit more difficult.
Yeah.
And I found that out firsthand. If I try to make, 5 or 6 quick turns in a row, you just find yourself getting pulled back further as opposed to being more centered and balanced on, a slightly softer and lighter ski like the Peregrine 80.
Yeah, that's very true. Thing like really, really needs you to be forward and on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why it likes those longer turns.
Yeah, because you can get there and just kind of stay there.
Yeah.
And do big sweeping turns. Yeah.
Yeah, but all the same thing applies in terms of shape and profile to the Peregrine 82. Really low profile tip, long, flat shape overall. That extended tip rocker and tail rocker really help with that 3D radius side cut and just make this thing incredibly stable and easy to stand on that edge and get that performance.
Yeah.
But
yeah, they're really fun. And like when I was first skiing them, it's 2 years ago now. I don't know why, but my initial perception of them wasn't that they were going to be like as strong as they are.
Yeah.
And I had to like gradually get there and just keep skiing them harder and harder and harder and faster and faster and faster. And like the more you give it, the more that it likes it.
yeah.
Yeah, it's really fun.
We found these to be, pretty popular amongst the ski instructor crowd,
Yeah.
more technical-oriented skiers,
Yeah.
People that basically make their livelihood on snow.
Yeah.
From a technical perspective, really get along well with this ski. I think that the ability to fine-tune and smear in addition to carve due to the shape makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. It's always fun watching a ski instructor ski it because they
Yeah.
do all their ski instructor things.
Yep, totally. $11,999. So almost $1,200 for this thing. You get the Volkl performance, you get the upgraded binding.
Yep.
That's how much high performance skis cost these days.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't feel like a bad price.
No, but back when it was Deacon 84,
I think it was $9.99.
it was like $9.99, and that was a little bit shocking back then.
That it was that low.
That much.
Oh, that much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
times have changed.
times have changed. But yeah, I think it's a great option for that technical skier. Maybe I don't think it's great for improving your skills. I think it's great for having skills.
I agree 100%. It's not a learning ski.
No.
It's take your existing skills and put them to the full potential ski.
Yeah.
These next two, to me, are quite similar. I always think about these next two skis as like siblings, basically, even though they're from very different brands. So this is the Fischer The Curv GT 85. And like we were talking about with the Redsters, as like, you know, that Redster Q 9.8, that's starting to like kind of mimic like race room construction. And that's not entirely true with this one, but it's sort of true. So this is a full beechwood core, which is very dense. It's the only ski up here with a full beechwood core, which there's something to be said about that.
Yeah.
And then it has 2 sheets of that shaped TI, but it's 0.8 millimeter thickness, which is like race ski thickness.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't really get much thicker than that. I think every once in a while it'll get a tiny bit thicker than that, but not really. There comes a point where like you can't make the metal any thicker because the ski just won't do anything.
Right. It's really just the thinness of this profile. Allows you to put beach and
yeah, that's a good point. It's especially
1.6.
up here in the shovel, and that's, I think we were talking about it with the 80, the suppleness. This is how I flex skis now, just one-handed off my elbow.
It looks tough.
There's still a little bit of suppleness to this ski, so that's. I'm glad you mentioned that, the thinness, because it is important. If it didn't have that, it would be a beast.
Yeah, it's a fat race ski at that point, for sure.
Yeah, and there is, like, I really like skiing this ski. Like I said, Bob and I spent more time on it this season, and I actually think it's quite easy to ski. It doesn't feel like too racy, where it like doesn't start to do anything until you go really fast. It has a little bit of smoothness to it at slower to moderate speeds, but when you are going fast, to me, underfoot, it does feel like a race ski. Like, basically like there to the 85.
Yeah.
That section of it feels quite strong and quite trustworthy. So you can push it and you can stand on it when you're in a turn, even if the snow is pretty firm. But yeah, it does have some forgiveness to it. It has a little bit of versatility to it. The next 2 skis that we're going to look at are, again, to like bring that phrase back up, a little bit more one-dimensional in like the sense that you should probably just stay on trail with those. And I think with the Curv GT 85, it prefers to be on trail, but if you want to go venture into some softer snow or into some trees or make some short turns on the side of the trail, that's fine. It was, what, 3,400 grams on the scale there? So that's a reflection of that dense wood and the thick metal in there. But I think it's a really nice mix of strength and power and capabilities on the high end, but considering where it gets to, I do think it's got some suppleness and a little bit of ease of use to it, which is nice.
It's funny to bring Brad up again. We were in here yesterday looking at the wall, and he said the exact same thing about his experience on this.
Yeah.
And I was like, I didn't.
Oh, really?
I didn't find that.
Oh.
I had a hard time with this thing, just trying to figure out what it wanted to do. And
I liked it.
Yeah.
I feel like it did whatever I wanted it to do quite intuitively.
I was expecting, and this goes back to last year when it first came out, more of that RC186 GT feel, and this is very different.
Yeah, that ski was like
it was
stiffer.
way stiffer.
Yeah.
Heftier, longer turn radius.
Yeah.
And I was kind of, in my mind, I'm still expecting that. So I haven't mentally checked into this ski quite yet.
Well, the RC186 GT was tough because it was so stiff that it ruled out a lot of skiers.
Yeah.
Like you weren't gaining anything if you weren't like skiing really fast, or at least sometimes skiing really fast. Where this ski, I think, is a lot more useful, and I think is going to be a much better, or is a much better tool for more skiers than an RC186 GT.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I really like it. I think it's great. Like, I'd rather ski this than Redster Q 9.8, because that ski feels like a little bit harsher, a little bit like, I mean, it's more precise. It's more, it's better at certain things, but I really like the little bit smoother, a little bit more supple.
That's funny. I'm the opposite.
Yeah,
I'd take a Q98 any day over this thing.
Well, as we've found several times, our preferences don't align.
Yep. No, that's pretty funny.
If we traded skis and had to just ski on each other's skis all the time, we'd be like pretty annoyed.
I'd quit. Wonder when bike season was coming.
I might too. What, you're like super long enforcers that are...
I don't ski those anymore.
No, fair.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't know if you mentioned price, but just shy of 1,000.
Thank you.
$999.
Yeah, and that's
$99.
another reason why I group that ski and the next ski together very often, just kind of emotionally, is only a $50 difference in price between them.
And I feel like I've done better skiing on this Redster Q98. That's kind of my mindset, is I felt more comfortable, more connected to the ski, to the snow, than on that Fischer. And sometimes it's hard to explain why. That's a reason why getting on these skis and skiing them is a huge deal.
I think you could argue that I've done better skiing on a Redster Q9.8 as well, until you bring up the question of like, how are you defining better?
Right.
Is better like more reflective of a race course, or is better I was smiling more?
The second one.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Then no, I've done better skiing on the Fischer.
Yeah, everything we said about the shape of the Q7.8 applies to this Q9.8. Differences in construction being you get more metal in this ski, you do get the RevoShock steel plates, and you do get that heftier binding system. So that full flex plate is new this year. Yeah, and again, not everyone will understand, but that older X12 binding was not easy to install or adjust. This one's considerably more user-friendly. So just a small thing there, but...
Well, and like some similarities to the Volkl integration, it's not quite the same, but the way that they wrap the plate like up over the bindings, and that's like, when I was getting tripped up on binding differences, that's one of the big difference in bindings from 7 to 9.
Right. You're enveloped in the system as opposed to sitting on top. And yeah, it does make a difference. So more material in that underfoot zone, regardless of what it is going to make the ski feel more planted and more solid in that area. 280 grams here in the 173. And yeah, I just feel like linking carve turns, feeling connected to the snow, it's hard to find something that's a better fit for me than this ski. That said, and we've talked about it before, it doesn't do much else all that great.
Yeah.
If you try to vary, from that turn shape and style, kind of that 15-meter arc, it's going to want to get back to it, and it's going to let you know.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
That said, again, I feel like at 84 underfoot, with this much power, you're going through stuff that other skis don't go through.
Yep.
So, we talk about it a lot. If you're skiing all day, your 3 o'clock run is way different than your 9 o'clock run.
Yep.
Groomers get mashed up, they get bumped up, temperatures fluctuate, all sorts of different things. It could snow, it could rain, just a million different variables could come into play. As long as you're on something that had been groomed, this ski's really not going to care. It just really goes right through, connected, no vibrations, super smooth, damp and powerful, and it will continue making those 15-meter arcs. But if you try to vary from that, if you try to go off trail, ski it in the bumps, it's way more challenging.
It just wants to make the turn shape that it wants to make on groomers. And it's very good at that.
Yeah, it's metronomic.
Yep.
It just, the timing of this ski is really precise.
Yep, I agree 100%.
And it's also hard to get it to be like quicker than that.
Yep.
It's like, no, we're doing this. We're doing this.
Yep.
And you're along for the ride. And that's what you get with a ski that is wide and built like a race ski.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
truly, the Redster Q9.8 really starts to be like race room construction.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty sweet.
Yeah, I mean, they're really fun to ski. I think it's just, you're spot on that they want to basically do one thing. And for a lot of skiers, that one thing that they want to do happens to correspond with the one thing that the skier wants to do. Like for some people, mid-radius carves that's it. That's the best thing in the world.
Yeah.
And if that's you, then you'll probably really, really like it. And really, you could basically say the same thing about this ski. It doesn't really want to do much outside of make a 15-meter radius turn.
The only reason I put it, yeah, exactly. You can go longer.
Yeah, yeah. So this is the Blizzard Thunderbird 82 LTD, the last ski that we're going to talk about. Really ends this progression nicely, and I think it's just a great representation of the end of this comparison. Because not only is it the most demanding ski up here, I'd say it's the most powerful ski too. So they come hand in hand. If you want like the burliest, strongest ski in this width range, it's this. I mean, there's I don't know, there's probably like a couple others that could compare. Mantra 84, MX 84 maybe.
I don't think so.
But it's like it's not quite the same.
Yeah.
No. So it's the real deal. And then in this ski we get the actual True Blend pieced wood core, so the non-sport performance True Blend pieced wood core. Like I was saying, it just ticks up the amount of beach. So as a ratio of beach to poplar, we're just getting more beach. 2 sheets of Titanal in this ski. They do not specify width like they do in the Stormbirds, but as Bob was talking about, you can see it, and it's pretty darn thick. Like, it's a lot of metal.
Yeah, very visible.
Yeah. And then in this ski, we move up to a Comp 12 binding, so like more of a race style binding, and we get this active carbon armor plate. So, you know, if we wanted to point towards where that $350 difference in price is coming from, a decent amount of it is coming from this binding. Like, this is even an increased performance version of this binding because you get the zinc plate underfoot. So there's just like, they're just putting a lot of stuff right under your foot.
You're right in the middle.
Yeah. And that's really where the price is coming from and kind of the performance as well. This thing absolutely rails carving turns. I mean, it's like you really can't ask for anything more than this in this width range. If you go narrower, sure, you can get a little bit more power, but you get a lot of limitations too if you go narrower. Like we talked about, like you were saying, if you tip this ski on edge, I think we were just talking about it with Redster, it'll go through basically anything. Where if you go narrow into like low 70s, you're going to start booting out, your bindings are going to catch more often, and it's just not going to be quite the same. So, you know, there's a give and take there, but if you want to be in the 80 plus width range and you want power and stability, this is absolutely incredible. And yeah, it's like, it's pretty demanding. You got to ski it really hard.
And, you know, not to talk too much about the non-LTD version, but it's the same ski.
Yeah, you just take this zinc out. And
with this binding system.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just a mix mash of parts.
Yeah.
I was impressed at how much of a difference that system made.
Quite a bit.
Over the non-LTD version.
And it's considerably more demanding, don't you think?
Yep.
Yeah, like you have to ski it really hard, and there's basically no forgiveness. So if you're not confident with your technique and your ability level, you're probably better off elsewhere. And that's where that Stormbird 82 DTI comes in, because it's, you know, it's a noticeable change in performance, but that's still a really, really high performance ski. And it's way easier to access what it can do. If you're that top tier skier that you want the best of the best, then yes, you will notice benefits to this and increased performance, but that's a relatively small group of skiers, in my opinion.
It's also one of those things where if this LTD didn't exist, we would be having a very similar conversation about the DTI that we're having right now about the 82.
I think so. And this is an extension of the narrower Thunderbird R15 that Bob and I have talked about a lot. And you know, it's basically the same recipe between them, but when you move up to 82 here, to me it gets more demanding. That narrower,
Yeah.
that narrower ski is just, it's easier to control. It's easier to initiate your turn. It's quicker edge to edge. This is just a lot of ski on your feet, and you really have to be strong and purposeful in how you're driving it.
Yeah, and you got to do it all the time.
Yeah,
you know, it's,
all the
it's
time.
similar to these last two here, where it's a full commitment. It's not a
not a cruiser.
No, there's nothing halfway about it.
No, it's almost like you know, if you only ski for like an hour in the morning before work, great ski for that.
Yeah.
Because it'll tire you out. Or like if you're lucky enough that you can bring 2 pairs of skis to the mountain, take your first 3 runs on a Thunderbird 82 LTD, and then maybe switch to like something easier so you don't wear yourself out.
Yeah.
Because if you skied bell to bell on this thing, you'd be exhausted.
Right. Having to make all those turns all that time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be tough.
But it's fantastic. It absolutely rips. I really, really enjoyed skiing these this past year.
Totally. $12.99 on this one.
Thank you. Yeah.
I did not mention $1,049 on
I think I said it was $50 more. So we did in a roundabout way.
Sounds good.
Than the curve. But I think a really good one to end on. You know, I think like performance and power and stability, and then like bringing a Stockli into the conversation. It you know, like it's really interesting just to like try and define these things.
Yeah.
Like that's why we don't use the word best ever, because that would be like a pretty good example of like how do you pick one between those two.
Right, they're so different.
They're so different. Yeah, and for some skiers, a ski like the Montero is going to be the best ski up here. For other skiers, this is going to be the best ski up here. So it's like, it's just tough to really put a singular stamp on them.
Oh, I hear you.
Is that it? Are you done? Or are you going to show us shape?
I already showed shape with
that one?
with the DTI.
Yeah. No, I don't think we need to. There's not really any rocker.
No surprises.
No.
No rocker, no taper.
No. Drastically better than the, what were the Quattros?
I love that Quattro, the 84.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that ski's way better.
They had the RX too.
Yeah.
That was the.
Was that the narrower one?
No, the RS was the narrow one. The RX was the 84.
Yeah.
So it's like a new Quattro RX.
Yeah, exactly, but better.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's it. That was really fun. Let us know if you have any questions. As usual, I think the next 2 comparisons will go narrower and then narrower.
Yeah.
And then I think we'll be done with narrow skis.
We're basically going like 70s and 60s.
We got enough skis in 60s to fill a group?
No.
60s to 72?
There'll be less than 20 skis.
Fair. Well, this was only
2.
this was 19.
19, yeah.
So, yeah. Anyways, that's it. Let us know if you have any questions. Keep an eye out for the next 2, because they will, you know, be similar conversations with these narrower, more frontside focused skis. After that, we'll completely switch gears and go all the way up to 110.
Yeah, like twice as wide.
So
as
that'll
the
feel
narrowest.
really weird.
Yeah, that'd be great.
We'll go from 60 to 120.
Perfect.
Okay. So, yeah, let us know if you have any questions, and we will talk to you soon.
Bye.